Hi, everybody. We're back. And you know what? I decided to just come on again. Um, why not? Not for any reason. I just thought, you know what? The last live didn't have a lot of people in it. And that was fine. No problem. But maybe I thought I'd catch a couple people.
Hi, everybody.
Oops.
We're back.
That's me. You don't want to hear
You
me.
know what? I just
Right? I just figured out there wasn't a lot of people on the last live, and that's fine. We're growing this channel, and no problem. And I wanted to make sure people went over and got catch the lifeboat. So I thought, still got the computer up. Haven't really moved since I got off the live. So why don't I come back on and see what happens? Right? What's the worst thing that can happen? So I thought maybe there will be some people that can hop on and want to hop on and want to say hello. Maybe there won't be. And that is just fine. Um, no problemo. But I just thought, oh, I'm here. I'm here, and I just see what happens. So, what should we talk about? I had to delete my live. It's scheduled for Friday because my computer wanted to, I don't know, it wanted to see that one that I'm not ready to do until Friday tonight. So I will repost that again because I will be doing that um, about, you know, about breaking them tapes. And we're in the work of progress right now. I think, breaking those tapes that we have rolling in our head. So, just give me a second. And that is me sitting on a motorcycle. I do not ride a motorcycle. Have never. Um, but I happened to be in an Elvis museum, and it was there, and I happened to sit on it because, of course, it was owned and ridden by Elvis. So how could I not? So I was able to snatch that picture. So anyway, that is me. But I applaud people that ride motorcycles, but it has never been something I've always been the kind of small world kind of ride kind of girl. Just real slow. Don't want motorcycles. No. I went tubing with my daughter once. Never again. We were going tubing. Of course, I'm a girl that was raised in Florida. You don't do tubing in Florida. There's no snow. And her dad was supposed to do it with her, and he wasn't feeling good, so I decided. Hi, my other keeper. I decided to come on. I decided to go because she was nervous to go for the first time, and we went up this thing, and I sat down in this tube, and I thought, I'm going to regret this shortly. The whole entire time I'm going down the thing as the tube is going, I'm going to clobber you. And I said, okay, Christina, I did it once, never doing it again. So, and every season, because we have a snow tubing place not too far from where we live, I wanted to take her and her husband to go tubing, and they have like this night tubing, and something's always happened and we never do it. Next year, we're doing it. Next year. So, y'all, I've got a secret. I forgot to tell you, but my last live was a focus on my grandmother and my grandmother and my great grandmother. I did it again. I did another ice yarn order. I have a very special project that I'm doing with this ice yarn order. And the only thing I couldn't get was I've got to go pick up white yarn at Hobby Lobby that has the sparkle in it. So I'm going to show you the yarn. I am not doing it for anything else but because I want to give somebody that is a friend of mine that has gone through a difficult situation. I really feel like when you crochet a blanket for somebody, it's like a hug. So I'm going to show you the colors so that you can see them. I ordered 2 additional yarns. One of them was like a glittery kind of yarn that was really pretty, and I can see a top in my future with that one. And another one, our church, one of our couples that just recently got married is having a baby girl, and I decided to order this yarn that's called ombre, and it's really interesting how they have it packaged. So I thought it'd be fun to show people in case they're looking for something. I think it's going to make a really... Oh, hugs back. My other's keeper is so cool. And I'm so excited to go on there with my daughter. Oh, we just had so much fun. I said, you guys got along great. I was telling people earlier in my chat, my phone like binged throughout the day on and off with people just messaging me that I've made friends with. And I'm like, just a schoolgirl. And I was just like, oh, it just feels so good. Oh my goodness, it just feels so good. And you were one of them, so thank you. You were my day today. Anyway, and so I thought I'd order that. But if the person allows me to share the finished project, I will. If not, it's fine, because the purpose is not to get any credit for it like I'm doing the thing for Tommy. It's because, sometimes we need to do something to just surround somebody with a little bit of love, and so that when they look at it, they can just brighten their day and realize they're not by themselves. So I really feel like blankets are just that thing that just, especially handmade ones, they just are made with lots of love, and then they surround you and kind of gives you a hug. So anyway, I ordered it. I may have ordered a little extra more than I need, and so I'm gonna see how much I need for the project, and then I'm gonna kind of go from there with what I have left over, of how I'm gonna use the rest of it. I will find a way, but it is the one that I went with is the favorite yarn that I really like. So actually, I ordered it Monday. The ice yarns is in Turkey. I ordered it Monday night. It shipped this morning, like in the middle of the morning, and then it's actually on its way. It's like, oh my goodness, so quick. It's coming FedEx, but I'm going to be really surprising how quick it came. Because last night, I guess because of the amount of days the migraine decided to keep going, I actually went to sleep. I slept a lot more than I intended, and then last night I couldn't go back to sleep. So I was actually on Chow Yum Smut, her Facebook page, her YouTube channel, just talking to people, and then about 4:30 in the morning, my stomach goes, "You're hungry." I'm like, great. So now I have to get up because I can't. I was starting to get sleepy, but then I couldn't go to sleep because I was hungry. So I had to get up to go to the kitchen to get something to eat so I could go to sleep. It's like, oh gosh. And I was doing pretty good till about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and my husband's like, I'm going out. Do you want me to get you something from the Golden Arches? And I was like, yeah, just go ahead and get it. It was just starting to build again, and I was like, okay, I'm done. 4 days. I tried all possible to avoid having to do that. When you were a kid, the Golden Arches tasted so good, but when you're an adult, it really doesn't. I'd rather have a sandwich by the market we have when we first enter our neighborhood than have something from there. But if it works, it works. I certainly feel a heck of a lot better tonight. So, and I got on the phone with my aunt and I talked to her for about an hour, the one that's dealing with cancer. So that was just, I was relishing every moment on the phone with her because I was like, she's here and I get to talk to her. So, what a blessing that she's still here and that I get to talk to her and I get to tell her I love her. So, I've had a really good day despite the headache. And then my husband and I were watching the rest of season 16 of Heartland, like the last couple of shows. Such a good series. So we've got one more season we'll catch up tomorrow with. So pretty good. Tomorrow's my hey Kelly, how are you? I figured out I thought nobody came and it was fine. It didn't have a lot of people coming on for at 7 o'clock, so I thought I was gonna hop on. We're gonna just chit chat for a little bit. I've got all this energy now. I've slept for 3 days on and off. I'm like, now I've got some energy. I have got to get one of them hoods. Now I did, and I explained it in my video earlier. I did do a YouTube, oh my goodness, Amazon wishlist store, not because anybody has to send us anything, but because I just wanted to start it so that if people, I'm better. Unfortunately, it was Big Mac to the rescue, literally, and I hate to do that, but every once in a great while I have to. Nobody has to purchase me. Yep. If it works, it works. I was looked at my husband. My husband's like, "You're done, aren't you?" I'm like, "Yep, I'm done. I'm done fighting it. Fighting it for 4 days." And the only thing I can say about it, and then I'll go back to the other, is what I learned from it. And it's hard to avoid situations that put you into that. But if I can all avoid it, I'm never allowing myself to put myself in a situation like that made such a headache come on for so many days straight. And I didn't help it, and I won't do it. And I'm not going to go into what the situation was, but I'm just not going to allow myself to go there because it wasn't worth the headache for 4 days. But I decided to do Amazon wishlist. There's a few toys in there for Mocha. There is stress. Stress will cause it. 110%. Usually that's what causes it. It is a sign and symptom of, it's how I started to talk to you on my channel. It's how I started to realize I had fibromyalgia. So it is a symptom of fibromyalgia. It is unfortunately a symptom, and it is, I had to adjust my camera when Christina was on. I still have to adjust it. It's a symptom, and I look tilted, y'all. I'm not trying to make anybody nauseous. It's a symptom, and it is it's one of the list. If you're getting random migraines, and you're having pain widespread, then you need to look at fibromyalgia, because that's how I didn't connect the dots, but that's exactly what it was. And they'll come pretty random. I mean, they could come at 2 o'clock in the afternoon for me, and I won't realize it. But then they can also come like what's called rolling, which means they're going away and then they're coming back and they're rolling. And when those start, it's like, forget it. So nobody has to purchase anything for us on the Amazon wish list, but if they want to, it is there for those that want to. And yes, I did put in one of those hoodies. Mine's the purple one. I put one in there for my husband, and they have one. They have one that you got the hood, and then sometimes I'll have neck tension just because of my crocheting. So they have the hood, like Tommy has, and then they have the thing that goes around your neck. And so, yeah, I put that in there. So it's not anything. I put some coffee in there and some tea, and don't have to, but I thought I'll start a wish list for down the road if anybody chooses to. But it is not a requirement. I just want everybody to come in and be part of this community and party and get to know each other and have friends and, kind of sit there and, and just, make connections. Let's do it. It's a powerful, powerful thing. As people celebrate sobriety and on the lifeboat, I sit there and it doesn't matter whether you're sober, one day, 6 months, 2 years, 10 years, 25 years, 30 years. I think it is so powerful no matter what or how long you've been sober. As long as you're sober and you're clean and you're connected, every day that you're staying in that frame of mind, you should be lifting the rooftops and celebrating, especially if you can celebrate with friends and family and stay sober and clean and connected and do it in an amazing way that's healthy mentally and physically. You should be celebrating it. I've never. Well, go lay down. Go lay down. You should look into one of those caps. It's on my wish list store if you're looking, so you know what it is. And that's another reason I did it too, because I wanted to put things that I like in there, so that people can go check it out too as well. But I've never had drugs and alcohol problem, but I've used food. And I still have to watch it today. Still have to watch it. I have to, if there's mint chocolate chip ice cream in the refrigerator, freezer, this girl's going for it. It is not lasting very long. Now, if I am planning to buy mint chocolate chip ice cream and enjoy it, I'm going to sit and enjoy it, and then once it's gone, it's gone. But if we have a friend of ours that if it's on special, she'll buy 2 or 3 quarts and she'll have a little bit every night. And I'm like, nope. 4:30 in the morning would come and I have insomnia and I can't go to sleep. And maybe I've had a bowl of mint chocolate chip ice cream before I've gone to bed. Well, at 4:30 in the morning, where am I going? I'm going right to that freezer and I'm going to have it again. And then when I'm hurting or when I am trying to fill that hole emotionally, I'm going right to it. Swiss cake rolls is another thing. Oh. You know what? If I get it. I totally get it. 100%. And you know what? If you've lost weight and you feel good about yourself and you feel healthier, then wonderful. I'm assuming that that's what it said that you used to. And if you've done it, and what an accomplishment. But you know what? Just remember that that your weight is never Kelly on a scale. Who you are inside is not coming from a scale. Who you are inside is coming from who you are. So if you've lost in weight, good for you. If you're feeling better and you're able to do more and you feel healthier, then more power to you. But like for me, if I love the little Swiss cake rolls. And if I have those in the house, I'm having one every night. I could. There's no way I could keep like 3 packages of Swiss cake rolls in the house because it's literally going in my mouth. I'm going to have one every night before I go to bed. And then, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Oh, well, you know what? I, I'm hungry and I'll just have another one. And before I know it, I've had 2 or 3 in a day. So if I'm going to get a box of Swiss cake rolls, I'm going to get a box of Swiss cake rolls. And when they're gone, then they're gone. And then, with surgery, well, you should be very proud of yourself. Because that was a battle and a struggle, but you've overcome it. And I still think it's probably, if it's like me too, it's a daily battle. My husband's looking into doing that as well. And, he has other issues too as well, and it's hard. Yep. It sits there. And I'm going to sit there going, okay, it's 4:30 in the morning. I mean, I was hungry at 2 o'clock in the afternoon or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I fought it for 2.5 hours until my stomach was actually making noises. And I'm like, okay, I'm hungry. So I went through and I had an instant breakfast and some, mixed it up in a mix and then added some Greek yogurt. And then was able to go to sleep. But if I have Swiss cake rolls in the house, they're gone. So I will have Swiss cake rolls in the house and then I will enjoy them. And once they're gone, they're gone. And then I say, okay, can't have them in the house for another 3 or 4 months because they're just too tempting. It's a forever battle. It never changes. Ever, ever, ever changes. It's here. And then when you have a situation or come up, because for me, when I was a kid and when I was, especially in the teenager years, when I would go to school and nobody wanted to be my friend and nobody wanted to get to know me, and I come home and my phone wasn't blowing up for friends asking me, let's go do this and let's go to the movies and let's go do this. What was I doing? Food became my friend. And I mean, I was teased for being, like you can see in that picture, I was probably like, motorcycle was maybe 11 or 12. So everybody thought I was the fat kid in school. It wasn't really. But boy, they certainly helped to make me feel. So, why don't I just go home and do what they think I am? Just, I mean, my family I had people in my family that were drug and alcohol users, and I didn't want to go down that road. It steered me clear of that, but I could get a hold of food. It was the easiest way to kill the pain for whatever, but it didn't work. And I still have to fight it today. I don't think I'll ever not fight it. That's why for me, when I get the migraines and I get to the point where I have to say, I've got to go get Burger King or I got to go get McDonald's, which doesn't happen very often that I have to go to that extent. I'm like, no, I really don't want to. I've been in bed with Reese's peanut butter cups. Minutes later, finally running out and been driving me crazy and wanting more. All right, we're going to do confession. If you've ever been in Florida or lived anywhere near a Publix, you know they've got like one of the best cakes around, right? So I used to go, especially once I got a car and could drive, I used to go to Publix and got cakes just to sit there and eat them. The icing was a great way to make the sugar hit and the dopamine and all that kind of stuff real quick. Or a box of Dunkin' Donuts. Yep, because they were my friend. Because my friends weren't being my friends. My friends were, I didn't have any. So it became the quickest thing in the world. And, back then in school, who was back then, who was in fault for who was in fault. Yep. Yes, their buttercream. Oh, I want them to come to Ohio. I miss them so much. What about their subs? My husband's like, I just want a chicken tender sub. But you know, we gotta get to the kids. I mean, back then it was like my mom was like beating her head against the wall because the school would sit there and want to tell them it's my fault for why the kids were bullying me, not that the kids needed to get anything done with them. It was my fault. If I wasn't so sensitive and I didn't pay them too much attention, and if I didn't do this, if I didn't do that, huh? I'm the one who's getting teased and I'm the one that's getting bullied and it's my fault? Good night. When my daughter came around, no, she went, the last school she was in, she had a principal that just, because of the school situation, yeah, their subs are good. I'm jealous. I'm jealous. She would not put up with bullying for a second. And so she stopped it dead in its tracks very quickly. But even the kids, I mean, I did the best I could as a mom, but even the kids growing up knew my daughter was autistic. So she's different. And the parents would know that she's different. And the parents were just as bad as the kids. You know, they didn't invite Christina to birthday parties. Why? Because she was different. Now you're getting a Publix. You're so excited. They've gotten one in Kentucky. And the last time, it was in January, we went for my husband's brother's, I'm going to have a new nephew soon. And so we went to his baby shower. And the Publix was like 2 hours away from Cincinnati. And I said to my husband, do you want to? Because we were going to drive to where the new Publix was. And I can't remember where it was. We were going to drive, and I said, do you want to? And he said, if we do, we got to stay overnight. We chose not to do it, but there's supposed to be one coming, I think, in 2025, like right over the, you can go into Kentucky and get it from Cincinnati. But I'd really like them to come. I mean, if they were in Columbus, we would drive to Columbus just to get a sub. I mean, it was like, and when you walk into Publix, I mean, this sounds so crazy, but I said it to my daughter because she'll go to, they enjoy going to Gatlinburg, and there's a Publix in around that area in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I said to her, do you realize when you go into Publix, there's a whole different smell? I know it sounds really weird, but it's like because they put their bread and their bakery and their subs and their fried chicken was great. See, we're all going to get hungry now. But I haven't had any of it since we left Florida in 2019. But, I mean, they put it right in the front of the store. In most Publixes that I've been in, it is literally in the front. They know what they're doing. You walk in and you smell it, and there's just this whole different smell. And my daughter's like, I know exactly what I get it, Mom. And she was saying that to her husband. Yep, they have the best produce. It's like, yeah, the smell. And he just thought she was nuts. I'm like, no, you walk into Publix and there's this different smell. And if you've never walked into a Publix, you have no idea. I walk into our Kroger's, and it's not the same, but they don't have their bakery, and they know what they're doing. Their bakery and deli is right always towards the front, and that they're baking their bread and they're making their stuff, and it's for sure there. So we're just come at least to Columbus, Ohio, because we'll be traveling to Columbus. Yep, it makes you want to go to the bakery. They used to have, they have it up here at a certain market that I have to go to. It's Old English muffin bread. Oh, it's so good. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Amish markets up here are amazing. I'm going to actually write to the lady who's like wanting to do the tour of Tommy and um, Reese and talk to them about having one of the tour stops being near the Amish community, Berlin and stuff, because that would be awesome. I mean, yeah, you can come to Columbus, but it's so congested. I mean, there's the amazing things in the Amish. Oh, it's just the produce, and like we can go down to a place near our house and we can get like a meal that consists of two sides and like Salisbury steak or crab cake or something like that, and a meal for like $7, and it's homemade stuff and it's delicious, and their stuff is so good. So, I'm gonna write and say I'll be more than happy to assist with that. I do planning, and I worked in a hotel for 6 years, so you know my daughter was getting married. I'd already called the hotels and booked rooms, and I was like, I had that 10 steps ahead of everybody else. And so, when I'm going to say her name, Chow Yum Smut was talking last night about booking all that kind of stuff, I'm like, yeah, I know exactly what that's like. I wanted to actually work with the sales department of the hotel. That's what I wanted to do. I was working to get my bachelor's degree in hotel management because I really wanted to work in the sales department and plan parties and stuff like that. My daughter's like, you needed to be a wedding planner. And I'm like, nope. I did your wedding. Nope. 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 One bride was enough. I planned my wedding. Actually, I've done two. One bride was enough. My parents had their 30th wedding anniversary, and I was working in the hotel that I had it thrown at. And my mom doesn't like surprises, but I just had this feeling like I needed to throw this party. And so I got family down, I got my grandfather down, his dad, my grandmother. I found their best man. I found one of their bridesmaids that was a couple and they had been married for years. I had people there. I had a DJ. My dad never really got any of his wedding cake, so I had their wedding cake reproduced. His sister was down. His brother called me up. He came down and surprised, and so I had all this family coming in and everything. And then I had something kind of allergies, and I was on Benadryl. She came in and woke me like the middle of the night trying to find out what was going on because she didn't like surprises and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, Mom, you just have to trust me. And so I had to actually, because one wedding is enough. I actually had to ask the hotel because we had like a limo service that was, that we would recommend. And so I had to have the limo service come and pick my parents up at the house so that they wouldn't take their car. So I would make sure that they wouldn't leave the hotel because they were talking about doing that and going to eat someplace else because I had this whole party plan. And I was trying to make it a surprise. And so I kind of had to tell her a little bit, but I didn't really tell her too much. And she said, but we want to be by ourselves and da-da-da-da-da. Now, understand, my parents got married 2 days after Christmas. They upped their wedding. And I'm like, Mom, why? But anyway, 2 days after Christmas, they got married. So I'm doing this whole thing. We got them in. My mother's in tears. And it was wonderful. They danced and they had their wedding cake and so forth. And his brother actually put on one of the hotel shirts and pretended to be a server and surprised him totally that he was actually there. And after the whole thing was over, my mom's like, I should have never been concerned and worried about it. I should have just realized you had it all under control. And of course, I got a great deal because I worked at the hotel. And so my mom sat there and said to me, yeah, when we have our 50th, you can do it all over again. And I said, oh no. When you have your 50th, I am sending you both on a cruise. I am not doing this ever again. I'm not going through this again. I am not doing this again. And it just, because she kept saying nobody has a wedding. Usually they wait till their 50th or 60th wedding anniversary. Well, my dad got dementia and had it for 7 years. And he passed away after their few days after their 49th wedding anniversary. So they didn't make it to 50. So my mother later said to me, I'm so glad you threw it at our 30th. But I'll just never forget. She looked at me when it was all over and said, oh, you can do this again in 20 years. No. I mean, I was sitting there. I had made these trees out of this styrofoam because it was Christmas. So I was doing all Christmas themed stuff. And I was answering the telephones at work. And I sat with these styrofoam cones at work with these peppermints all on these styrofoam cones for the centerpieces, taking the pins and putting them all over this darn cone with all the... My hands were so sore from sitting there with like all these peppermints. I had like 7 or 8 tables, and we had snacks and we had dancing, and it was so much fun. The only thing that I regret not doing is hiring a videographer and having him tape the entire thing. That was the only thing. But I had a friend who said she was going to come and tape it and film it. So I was trying to do the best I could to tape it and film it. And I really, really wished that I'd hired a videographer to come in for the evening and tape it and do a whole tape thing from it. I really wish. That was my only regret. That I had a professional videographer come in and do it. But I do have it on video. It's just not the greatest quality video, but I do have it. And I have her face, and she's coming in and she's crying, and later on she's like, yeah. And so I really wish that I'd had that, and maybe even looked into having somebody that would be willing, maybe like a college student or somebody that was practicing photography, come in and do some professional photography for me. That was my only regret, but I did the best I could, and what a special memory. And when you look back at it, my mom's like, I'm so glad that she didn't listen to me, because I was so wrong, because they they wouldn't have made it, unfortunately, to their 50th. So it was wonderful, but nope. Mom, you're going on a cruise, which never happened, but oh my goodness, that was, I remember my grandmother went out because my dad was, going on, and my grandmother just took him outside the house, and they were out there, and she was giving him a what for, because she was just like, Mary's been planning this, and you just need to trust her. Then it was after it was all over. I was praised for it, but man alive, was it, oh my goodness. And when I did my wedding, one of my husband's uncles came up to me and said, Mary, I have never been in a wedding that was so planned out in my entire life. There was 2 different hotels. I had people staying at one hotel, and then people wanted to stay closer to the beach. So I literally had like baskets, welcome baskets with people that were in the wedding party, exactly what they were supposed to do and where they were supposed to go, and addresses and details. And he said, this is the most well-planned wedding I've ever been to in my entire life. So I can do planning very well. Excuse me. But then when my daughter's wedding came along, it was like, that was the challenge, because I sat in the back doing a lot of, she had an international. She had somebody coming from England, and somebody came from oh goodness, what was it? She's Dutch, and I'm trying to remember where she came from. Oh, can't remember now, but it was international. So we had people coming from there. We had people coming from Florida, and she had like 110 people at her wedding. So it was a lot. But her day literally went out without a hitch. She looked back. She goes, Mom, I didn't realize how much planning was involved until after it was all over, and how much stuff you really were doing in the background to kind of make sure everything went smoothly. And I do it all again. I couldn't move for a month after her wedding. We were so tired. Her wedding got done about 10 or 11 o'clock, and there was a girl that, it was my godparents' granddaughter, who I had just, because out of respect for my grandparents, my grandmother's no longer here, nor is my grandfather, and out of respect for them, and because out of respect for my godparents, I just wanted to send, I don't know what, it was the Lord, I know that. I want to send her and her family an invitation, and her sister and her mother. So I sent off an invitation. And my daughter was kind of questioning why, and she didn't really know them, and that's true because she wasn't raised with them. I said, they're probably not going to come. I just want to send them the invitation. Yes, I needed a vacation. So she called me up like a month before the wedding, and she said, can I come? And I said, well, of course. I sent you an invitation. And her name was Mary too. So, she's such a sweetheart. So anyway, she came. She was a godsend. Her and her husband were just, I just couldn't have asked for a bet. It was like, here's your cavalry coming. Because by then we were exhausted and tired. And so she came in the day of the wedding, because she didn't get married till the afternoon. The day of the wedding, Mary Beth went and picked up the lunch for the bridesmaids and stuff as they were getting ready, and Christina picked up the lunch, picked up the coleslaw for later that afternoon for the dinner, came back, helped us tear everything down after the wedding was over with, woke up at 4:30 that morning and took the girl from, can't remember where she came from now. Not the girl from England, but the girl from, I can't remember where she was coming from, but she took her and my aunt and her maid of honor that were going back to Florida to the Columbus airport because we were so tired by then. And took the girl that wasn't leaving till the next day to Columbus and got her a hotel room so that she was close to the airport. She could get to the airport the next day. Then they got in the car and they drove to Cleveland and went back to where they lived. I mean, it was just, and we literally got everything packed up from the wedding. We drove all the food back here to our house because we were staying in the hotel with family and so forth. We got back here about 1 o'clock in the morning, dropped everything into the refrigerator and everything that we could here at our house, drove another 50 minutes or like 40 minutes back to the hotel. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Woke up, said goodbye to everybody that was still there, left the hotel at like 11 o'clock in the morning and came home and collapsed. But then we had to also unload the car. I mean, we had to unload the car from all the stuff and everything. And oh my gosh. I mean, we literally collapsed. I couldn't move for days. I do it all over again, but it was exhausting. But I said I only have one daughter, one child, and one wedding. I'm done. But I have a funny feeling that way down the road, I'll be helping maybe grandchildren to help them because I'm the decorator and I'm the one that does all the crafty stuff and everything, and the planning I do really well with. So I will help fill in where needed be, but I won't be doing the thing I did for my daughter's wedding. That was a hoot. That was I was exhausted, but I did it, and I do it again, and it was beautiful. She had a wonderful day. I've done a video about flowers, and it shows in the previous one, a couple rows back, I've done some videos on solo wood flowers. It shows all her bouquets. And her dress, excuse me, was called her dress she found when I guess nowadays every dress has a name. I guess it's something that's, what have you. And so when I found out what her name of her dress was, excuse me a minute. To have a drink of water. So when I asked what the name of the dress was, they said it was Britannia. Well, I thought how fitting. Her grandmother and her grandmother and her great grandmother and her great grandmother all came from Scotland. So it was very fitting that the dress was named Britannia. It was a beautiful, beautiful dress. Beautiful dress. So she looked like a princess. And I think once in our life we have to be a princess. And what better day than to do that on your wedding day, right? And you can look back about 10 years later going, I said to my husband, I will always love you, but there are days where I do not like you. And then I go back and I look at our wedding pictures, or I look at our wedding video, and I think, there was a reason. I loved him. I married my best friend, and you kind of get that little soft thing. We had both been, my husband and I had both been through divorces. And his first marriage was not, it was done in a courthouse. And my first marriage, let's just say I went down the aisle as the bride and nobody stood. So he said to me, listen, we're going to pretend like this is our first wedding. And he said, I want you to go out and pick the most beautiful dress that you could ever find. Of course, in budget. He had a budget. That you can find. And you dress yourself up and look like an absolute princess. And of course, Alfred Angelo isn't a thing now, but it used to be. And so I found this dress. Josh and I had met online. So it was fitting that I found my dress online. So I was going through all the dresses from David's Bridal and everything, and I found this dress. I'm a purple girl. Doesn't show. I'm a purple girl. And so this dress it was ivory, and it was purple, and it had these flowers around it that just had a little bit of lilac in them. It wasn't a straight ivory dress. And my mother's like, you couldn't have asked. And they had these sleeves that just hung. I mean, it was just beautiful. And just beautiful. And so I felt like a princess that day, that was for sure. An absolute princess. What was crazy is my dress is when they were trying to figure out these dang on sleeves, right? They were sitting there going, we couldn't understand why the sleeves were wrong. The sleeves, I had one sleeve and it was up here, and the other sleeve was like way down here. We couldn't figure out what was going on. They had sent a dress that was made with both right or left sleeves. I can't remember. And the lady's like, she said, we can redo the sleeves, but we don't know if we could put, they had this little filigree, little lace around, or little flowers around the sleeves. And we don't know if we can put that on the sleeves. I said, you better find a way to put that on the sleeves, because it's one of my favorite parts of that dress. But I don't know if you can see it. I'll show it. I don't know if anybody can see it. That was me. And I don't know if you can see, like right here is like the little little petals that had a little bit of purple in them. And those were those sleeves. And they were like angel sleeves, so they would drop down. And you better figure out how to put the dang on things on those sleeves. And you can see them, kind of, the sleeves, kind of in that picture a little bit. It's my dad walking me down the aisle. But you can kind of see the sleeves, if I can get it right. You can see the sleeves. Kind of, they were hanging down. And I was like, hey, you better figure out how to put them lace on them sleeves. So, and then I didn't get my dress preserved for years, like 7 years, and I just never got around to preserving it. And so when my daughter got married, I had to get her dress preserved. And I went back to the venue because in all the craziness of the day, the videographer got her dress hung, but the photographer didn't. We had a beautiful photographer. She did an amazing job. She's family. She did an amazing job. She did beautiful, beautiful pictures. So like it was the one thing that she actually regretted not getting. But I went back to the venue and I took my dress. Let me see if I can find it. I took my dress and my daughter's dress and I hung them on 2 different trees. And I put them to show my dress first and then her dress after that. Well, I had my dress still open, not preserved. And I took both of them and we went to I went to a dry cleaning place and had them both preserved at the same time. But I thought it was an interesting way of being able to put the dresses beside each other so that they could be shown like the front and the back. And I went on Etsy. Let me see if I can find it. And I can always put the link here. Such a cool idea. I've got to find it. Hold on a second. We'll get it. We're just chilling and hanging out, right? Where are you? This isn't the thing, but I'll show you the other thing I'm going to pull up in a second. That was my daughter on the day. She was beautiful. She was beautiful. Of course, it's all fuzzy. It's not wanting to show very well, but I went on to Etsy. If anybody, I can give them this link or I can put it in the thing. There's a guy on Etsy and he can take a picture. It's amazing. And I had it done for Mother's Day for my mom. And he can take the picture of you and like a mother and like a daughter and pull your wedding dresses out of pictures and put them all together. So it shows them all together. Let me see if I can, where are you? Here it is. So that it can show you all as brides. And I thought it was so cool. So there's a picture of all of us as brides on our wedding days all together. Now the only thing he couldn't read or he had to change was my mother's bouquet wasn't very clear. So he had to change that and give her something else, but she was married at Christmas, so it was perfect. But then he was able to take all of our pictures from our wedding day and put them all in this, so it shows us all as brides. I thought it was so cool. It was so cool. But he's on ST. That was just so cool. It was really, really cool. So, anyway. Yes, she is. She was on live last night, and we totally enjoyed it together. Yeah, it was so cool. I mean, he couldn't have been nicer, and I will gladly give anybody the link to it, but he takes pictures and then he puts like generations together of brides. I thought it was really cool to have all of us together and show all of us in our wedding dresses 3 generations of women. And if I'd had one of my grandmother in her wedding dress, I would have added her into it, but we don't have any pictures of her in her wedding dress. I think it was over in Scotland, and I don't think she was wearing any wedding dress. I think it was done probably in a courthouse, something like that, some very low-key thing. And so I don't have any pictures of that. And so I would have I would have added my grandmother, but and made 4 generations of women, but still, it's a treasured photo. So, anyway, I'm glad I came back on. I thought, you know what? I'm going to break one of them tapes. And that's what our discussion, I will repost it again. What our tape? Yeah, I know. But my grandfather, like I said in the previous one, he was serving in the military. And he met my grandmother in a dance over in Scotland. And I think they fell in love there and got married very quickly. And, well, he was stationed over there. And my mother was 4 months old when she came over to this country. So we can do the math. We can do the math. So, I'm glad I came on. And one of the things we're going to be discussing, hopefully on Friday, I'm praying that I wake up tomorrow and my headache does not decide, oh, it's 2 o'clock, let's go ahead and return. No, I don't think so. So I'm going to order one of them hoods eventually. I'll have to wait till next month, but I'm going to get one of them hoods because I think that'll make a huge difference. Yeah, he was Greek and she was Scottish. Let's just put them two together. And he will be a story that I will tell too. My uncle was an alcoholic. My grandfather was an alcoholic, and their story deserves to be told. Their story needs to be told, and doesn't need to be in the dark, and doesn't need to be hidden. It needs to be told. So I'm planning to tell their story from a perspective of watching somebody as a niece who had to watch her uncle drink himself, to oblivion. And unfortunately, I never met my grandfather because his alcohol took him out. And so there's a story, and I will tell that story. So I'm really glad I came on because one of the things we're going to talk about on Friday is breaking those tapes. We have tapes of about 1,000 sitting in our head of, you know what, I'm ugly, I'm not pretty, nobody wants to be my friend, and they're all different. And we have multiple copies of each saying that goes in our head. And what I have been finding out in the past week, really wonderfully, is I've had a couple friends come in that I've met through the lifeboat that have said, I'm going to help you break those tapes. And sometimes we have people that we need to help come in and need to break them tapes. I have a friend on here that I'm saying that, that I'm going in and I'm sending her something every day. I want to lift her spirits. I want to be able to lift her up. I'm not sending it because I want to, it's not empty things, it's the truth. But we have to break those tapes. I was on a chat with a friend of mine today, met through the lifeboat. And you know what I said? I'm a pretty awesome girl. She came back and said, yes, you are. I mean, it's funny how something like that would make you tear up. But I said, I'm a pretty awesome girl. And those that like me, and those that don't want to take the chance to get to know me or judge me by my cover first, you're missing out on a great girl who has a big heart. Because if you need me, I'll be the first one to wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and be there. I had a friend of mine. She's no longer here. And it was all during the wedding stuff where she would FaceTime me on, through Messenger. And all she wanted me to do was be there. Laura, you're missed. And she was going through some mental stuff. It was pretty hefty. And let's just say there were times that I had to be on FaceTime when she was not even dressed. Because she was having even problems tolerating wearing clothes. I mean, there was just stuff going on. And she's like, Mary, I just want you to be there. Can you just be there? And I literally was on FaceTime for 10 hours while I was trying to finish up the last little details of my daughter's wedding. I was like, Lori, I love you and I will be here. And I may not be able to talk because I've got to focus on this, but if you just need me to be there, I'll be there. If you just need to see my face, if you just need to hear my voice and just check in and say you're going to be okay, and I love you and it's going to be all right, and I could be there. I mean, I logged in so many hours just being there for her. But you know what? She was there for me for years. When I was a mother trying to raise a special needs individual, and she didn't have any children, but she was a special needs aide that came in, and she understood what I was going through when normal parents wouldn't have understood what I was going through. And I met her and her mother through another friend of mine that had me and her over for lunch. It was a connection that was made by somebody totally different that we connected, and then we became friends, and we were friends for years. And, you know, so we got to break those tapes, and we have to help each other break them. And I said to my mother, you know what? When I sit there and say to you, when you tell me I'm amazing, and I sit there and say, yeah, would you just tap me on the shoulder and say, Mary, wake up? I'm not telling you that because I'm telling you that. It's because of the truth. I sat there last night telling my daughter she was beautiful and she's wonderful. And I'm not saying that because I have to and I'm her mother. I'm saying that because it's the dang on truth. But we got to start breaking these tapes, and we got to figure out how to do it. And we've got to figure out that sometimes we have to get somebody in to help us. Like I messaged my friend today. I've been having a little asthma trouble, and I'm better. And I said, would you please remind me that when I'm having, you know, when I need to take my breathing treatment, which doesn't happen very often, but when I need to take my breathing treatment just to take it, she's a nurse. And so it's like, yeah, but I don't want to take it because when I was a kid, I had to sit there and be dragged out of plane to go take my breathing treatment. And I don't like the way it makes me feel because then I get a little shaky, and then I probably need it tonight again. But I get a little shaky and my heart races a little bit, and I really don't like to do it. But I'm like, Mary, you spent days when you could have not been as tight-chested and your asthma was flaring up, and you didn't do it because you didn't want to do it. And I said to her, if you are ever on the phone with me, or you ever see me through this YouTube channel thing and you think I need it and I'm not cluing into it, can you message me and say, go do your breathing treatment? I mean, it sounds stupid, but it's not, because sometimes we don't self-care for ourselves. And she said to me such a sweet thing. She said, Mary, your husband and your daughter need their Mary. So you better take care of yourself, girl. And that's where, in the message back and forth with her, I ended with, you know what? I'm a pretty awesome girl. And it was like breaking them tapes. Breaking them. And that's what we're going to help everybody do here, is break them. And I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay. And I'm going to mess up, and I'm going to say something, and I'm going to do something. And I can see how when the channel grows, there may be somebody saying, you know, rumors will start. They can go ahead and start all they want. But I know the truth. My reputation is in God's hands. It's not in anybody else's. I know who I am. And if I've messed up or if I've made a mistake, I'm going to come to y'all and say, I'm really sorry. I goofed. I'm not perfect. So let's have forgiveness, and let's have grace and compassion and understanding, and let's break them tapes and come back and say, you know, because what was happening earlier is, if people couldn't come on, and I know I got my replay crew, and they're going to come in and they're going to be awesome. But what happened is I was sitting there, we're going, nobody wants to talk. Nobody wants to be my friend. And I was like, wait a minute. I've pulled out a cassette tape. I've got 1,000 copies of again. And I'm going back on. And if nobody comes on, that's fine. But I'm going to do something to break the tape. Because that, Mary, that's not true. So if I can show something through what I'm doing. And last night with my daughter was so amazing. And the fact that she wants to go on My Other's Keeper with me, I was like, you're finally getting to the point in your life where you're accepting the fact that you're autistic. And I've always said, you know what? Your brain just thinks differently than everybody else. Who cares? I love you just the way you are. You're tremendously neat. I love it. Wouldn't change you for the world. But I was sitting there thinking, she's talking about autism. She's talking about her diabetes. There's not like, Mom, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to tell people I have it. Because then they're going to look at me differently. It's what's happened to her entire life. You better stand tall and proud. You're my daughter. You're my baby girl. And you're beautiful. And you're made just the way God intended for you to be. Because He has amazing things for you. So, like I keep telling everybody, just because you don't do this and the crochet thing doesn't mean you can't be here. What are you blessed to do? You're blessed to do something. Let's figure it out. And it's probably multiple things. I can do some cooking when my body allows me to. I can do this. It's not for everybody, but I can do it. I can crochet. I can do different arts and stuff like that. I can be a good listener. I can be a good friend. I'm blessed to do a lot of things. Passionate about crochet. People don't like who I am. They don't like that I like Elvis Presley. There's the door. But I will tell you one thing. Elvis, for me, was my connection to my dad. And I loved Elvis before my dad. My dad liked Elvis, but I had a real connection with Elvis and Elvis's music. And I come home after a really hard day at school and I just put on Elvis's music. I have a connection to my dad, even more powerful with any of Elvis's songs. Because when he couldn't talk, he couldn't remember my name because a dementia had locked the door. I could put on Elvis song. I stopped putting on his favorites like American Trilogy and stuff like that. But I could put on like Polk Salad Annie and some of the fun ones. And he would sit in his chair humming along with it and dancing as best he could. And there's a picture, and I'll show it when Christina's on, because then I'll get her point of it. There's a picture of my dad when Christina was 5 years old, standing by the door. We have a talk about dementia. And he's in his Navy uniform, and he's standing by the door, holding her hand at 5, and her little foot's crooked. And she goes, Mom, I want you to, because of course her grandfather passed away in 2021, and she was married in 2022. She said, I want you to recreate that of me in my dress. And I was able to recreate that. I had somebody recreate the picture so that she's sitting there in her wedding dress and my dad's sitting there in the Navy uniform. And I gave it to her for Christmas, and she's crying. But what was crazy about the whole thing was when the lady that was doing the picture, we had gone back and forth with images and so forth, back and forth in Messenger for like 50 minutes. And I was working on her yearly calendar. I do a Shutterfly yearly calendar with different pictures, and I've done it for years. because she has a record of stuff. And I do a personal calendar. I was working on that to get it done. And I had put on Elvis Aloha from Hawaii special, which is on YouTube. And if you're not an Elvis fan and you've never heard some of his music, go listen to that. One of his best concerts. And so I'm listening to the concert to try to just keep my mind going and busy, because I've always been that kid when my mom would go, how can you study? Well, you have the music blaring. I don't know. It helps me to study more. I don't know. And we're 15 minutes into this concert as I'm listening through on YouTube. The picture comes through as American Trilogy starts playing. I said, Dad, you were there that day. The final picture of this precious moment that could only be created in Photoshop this way came through as American Trilogy was playing. And I lost it. I had goosebumps. I was just like, oh my gosh. I was like, it was unbelievable. It started in, I was like, just as that picture came over on my messenger, I was, oh my goodness. And that was the song, because they called us Tuesday. My mom was still in the hospital, and my dad was in he was under hospice for several years. And they called us because he had to get moved to respite care because my mother was in the hospital, and all of us had COVID. I guess I shouldn't say that. I'm learning the C math, right? Well, they I'm not monetized yet, but anyway, we had to put him in respite care while she was recovering, and they called me up Tuesday and called my mom up and said he's not doing well, and of course none of us could go see him. And I said, do your best to keep him comfortable. And they said, I think by this afternoon he's going to be gone. And I said, well, you don't know my dad. You don't know him. I said, he's a tough cookie all the way to the end. And this was Tuesday. She came home from the hospital New Year's Eve. We didn't even celebrate Christmas that year until the next month. And I don't remember when New Year's Eve was, several days later. And I remember it was New Year's Day, 12:30 in the morning. 12:10, I played that song on January 1st, because now my mom was home. I didn't have to worry about losing her. She gotten much better. She was home. And at 12:10 I played that song, American Trilogy, and they called us at 12:30 and said he's gone. And I just played it. Tears were just rolling down my face, and I said, Daddy, it's time for you to go home. And I mean, just tears were rolling, and that song played, and I did not allow myself to play that song until it was January 1st, and 12:10, and then I could say, okay, Mom's home safe. I got her covered. It's time for you to go home. So that song really means a lot. But then when it came along with that picture, oh my goodness, I got goosebumps all down my arms, and I was just bawling. My husband's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You'll never guess what happened." But when we do the show with my daughter about dementia and her experience coming from a grandfather's point of view and coming from an autistic point of view, because they handle emotions very differently, I will put that picture in. So I'm going to get off here. Been an hour and a half. It's been great. I feel so much better. I got my connection fixed. I had it in the lifeboat earlier, and now I got it on my channel, and I'm hopefully we'll go to bed before 4:30 in the morning. If not, I can go on Chow Yun Smut and interact with them. But I really hope that I don't wind up 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the morning and go to bed. I will not be on tomorrow because tomorrow is my therapy appointment with my husband and I. And by the time I get done with that, I am exhausted. And I think that we'll probably end up doing something pretty light on my end tomorrow because I don't think I can handle anything heavy. I don't. Sometimes I come home, sometimes because we're processing some tough stuff or peeling that onion. It's not fun. I wish I had done it years ago. And so sometimes I've come home from the session with a headache, and I don't want to restart the whole process all over again. We go to therapy because my husband's processing through some stuff. I need to process through some stuff, and we're processing it together. I have married my best friend, and we would much rather be in that room together, helping each other through the process, than being separate and not having each other as support. So we don't, it's not necessarily marriage counseling at all. It's just coming in there and being together and being there to support each other. So I will hopefully be on Friday, and we will talk about them tapes because we're going to break them here. We're going to break them. I'm going to help everybody I can to break them. You help me break mine, and we're going to do it together because cassette tapes have gone out of coolness. Do we not remember the tape decks where you put the thing in the tape deck and it would play? They're ancient for a reason. So let's break them because they don't exist in society today. Let's not have them exist in our head. So Kelly, I thank you so much for being so interacted in the chat tonight. I know there wasn't a lot of other interaction, but I totally enjoyed getting to know you a little bit better. I totally enjoyed it. So thank you. You've just been just a joy to have in the chat, and I thank you so much. I thank my other keeper. I think, and just confirming the date with her, but I think it will be in March, first part of March, that I will be on her channel with my daughter talking about autism. And as soon as that yarn comes in, I will show you. I love you too. Yep, he's breaking those down. Joshua Jones is my hubby, as he's called by some of the people here in this crew, Mr. Blessed to Crochet. He's not too thrilled with that name, but but he's my best friend. I couldn't ask for any more. And when I get that yarn in, I'm going to show it because I just want to show all the colors. But the project that I'm doing is not something that I am going to put out there. It is for someone that is a friend that I just want to surround them with a blanket and give them a hug. And if they allow me to share it, then I will share it. If they wish not to, then it will stay between us, and that's fine. But the yarn, I will show you, and so you guys can see. And then one of these days, I'm going to have my daughter order for my yarns, and we'll see what she has to order for me. That's going to be scary, because I can just see one of two things going. This is the way it's going to go real quick. She orders me yarn. It's either going to be lots of yarn that she likes, that she's going to want me to crochet things with, or it is going to be a whole bag full of yellow yarn, because she knows my favorite and least color in the world, and that's a whole nother story for another day, is yellow. So she is going to have fun, and somehow I could see yellow yarn in my future. It will be a fun experiment to have her order and not tell me exactly what she's ordering. This is going to be fun. So that will be down the road. But anyway, as soon as that yarn comes in, I will do a review. It may not be until next week. It just depends when it comes in and when everything goes together and when I can make it happen. You have a great night, Kelly, and everybody here, everybody that watches the replay, please subscribe. And I'm going to get off in a second. Hold on just a minute. That's my daughter, and she's a little under the weather, so I'm going to be a mama now. Have a great day. Have a blessed day. Share those blessings, and thank you for coming on and chatting just a little bit. It's not a mystery box, but it will be when she orders the yarn for sure. It'll be Christina's mystery box. Have a good night. Share the blessings and stay connected. And see you on the next one.